Autumn is here, and so are the spookier, moodier aesthetics that come with it. And so today I'm going to be talking about dark cottagecore, but specifically ways to make your home feel dark cottagecore on a budget. I like to try to keep things on a budget. I feel like you guys really enjoy when I do that, just because it makes it easier for everyone watching. So if you are currently on the hunt for like new inspiration for autumn time and you're decorating your home, this is a really good video for you. And it can also bleed into the new year as well. You don't have to just decorate like this around autumn time. This is the type of aesthetic that can stick around in your home all year round. I mean, depending on what you're into. Change it up if you want, do whatever. Okay, let's talk about it. So the easiest way to put it is it's cottagecore, but make the color palette entirely dark. Done. That's dark cottagecore, but let me get you a more on brand definition that's straight from Google itself. So dark cottagecore is a style that combines cottagecore with darker, more mysterious elements such as folklore and fantasy. It's a unique mix between the simple living of cottagecore with the aesthetic of dark academia mixed with earthy and esoteric elements. But instead, it includes darker aspects of nature. So the first idea on this list has very much to do with the cottage and trying to bring in those cottage vibes as if you're in one. So it is a diamond grid on a window or a diamond lattice. Gosh, did I say that right? I have no clue. Lattice? We're gonna go with that. Lattice. This is a common window grid that you will see in cottages, and that being said, it's just like the perfect DIY, and it had to be the first one on the list, especially because there is a way that you can do this for a very inexpensive price using electrical tape, which is only like $4, guys. What an incredible DIY that is. There is a video I found of someone doing this along with a blog, so I will link that below for you to check out that specific DIY just in case you are interested. But you can also do it another way where you use very thin trim and you add that to the windows as well and you paint it. So there are different options depending on how much you want to spend to do it. But in my opinion, the electrical tape one is such a great hack. Like, way to change up your windows by barely doing anything and spending next to nothing. You know, it's a crazy one, but it's a good one. And still on the topic of windows, because there's a couple of things on this list, I wanted to include stained glass window decals. Stained glass window decals you can obtain pretty easily. You can find them on Amazon for an inexpensive price, and again, it's something that you will see in cottages. I think the stained glass window decals are a really great item because it totally changes up a window in general. So when you walk into the room, it's gonna feel entirely different. And when the sun shines through it, it creates new lighting in your space and adding in some color that you didn't have before. It's a really great one, and it's inexpensive. So yeah. Now, still trying to create that cottage vibe and bring it in an inexpensive way, I wanted to put foam wood beams on the list. I think I've mentioned this in one video before, but this is a great hack. I've seen this done in multiple people's homes before, and let me tell you, you look at it and it doesn't look like it's fake wood at all. You would never know unless you touched it and like knocked on it. Like, even then, you might not even know. It looks so convincing. There is a DIY that I found of 𝚌𝚘𝚖𝚎 doing this, so I will link that one below, and here you can also see it on the screen. It's such a good DIY, guys. It's inexpensive. It does take a little bit of time and effort to make it come to life, but boy oh boy, is it worth it. The next idea is super easy because you don't really have to buy too much. You just have to buy either wood, stain, or paint. And that is just by staining your current furniture that you have and making it a darker color. Now, of course, you might not want to do this to all your furniture, but if you have pieces of furniture that you're like, I could switch up the color on that easily, wouldn't bother me, highly recommend giving that a go, because once you change out the color of your furniture in your space, it really does start to make a difference. The next idea is to create an apothecary display. My idea for this one specifically, okay, there's a couple of options here. The first one's going to be in the kitchen, because you can easily get like a bunch of jars from Amazon where you can smack on those labels and put all your spices in it, and you can display this out purposefully so that way it looks like an apothecary station. But there's also another idea I had where you can do this in a bathroom. Oh my gosh, I saw this done in my friend's house where they got these vintage bottles and they put like Q-tips in it, cotton balls in it, and other supplies, and they put it out on a shelf, and their house was like a 20s vibe. It looked extremely vintage, and I feel like with cottagecore you can bring in those vintage elements and it works really, really well. So you could do the apothecary spice cabinet display area using those bottles that you buy in a package, or you could even collect bottles to make your own. That's going to be a bit time consuming. It really depends like how much effort you want to put into doing this. But either way, either option would look really, really cool. Another one that works really, really well in the kitchen that's easy is just by displaying your pots and pans. You know, get one of those racks that hangs around your stove, or you could also display them in other ways like this or this, and these are all good. Now I am going to say it looks much more appealing if you decide to stick to a color palette with your pots and pans instead of having like a mixture of all different colors. It's not as satisfying to the eye. I am going to say that. So if you are going to do it, maybe invest in some pots and pans that are all the same color palette, maybe copper, maybe they're cast iron. Just throwing out some ideas. I want your home to look aesthetic and pretty, okay? Another idea that's really good for the kitchen, and this just kind of creates a cottage vibe, is by simply removing your cupboard doors off of the cabinets. Giving yourself some open shelving, especially if you have like an array of mugs that you like to collect, for instance, or teacups, and maybe you have an open shelving area just for those to display. Because if you're gonna do this, you still gotta keep in mind, you want it to look kind of aesthetic. At least I do. I think it looks more pleasing to the eye when you do that. So if you have a bunch of different sized cups and they all are different colors and some are plastic and some are glass, it's not going to look as appealing to the eye. So if you are going to have some open storage, then you have to make sure it looks still kind of nice and organized and intentional in order to actually come together. So the next one I actually saw in someone's kitchen, and in this home they actually displayed a bunch of dried flowers all around the kitchen at the top, hanging on the wall. And the room was also painted black. I mean, how moody. It's perfect. So I would say the dried flower display is a really cool idea. Now, dark cottagecore is still cottagecore, meaning there are lots of plants in here. So of course, you guys know I have to say, fake vines, you can get them on Amazon. You can get these and they can cover an entire wall. It is a very transformative item that is inexpensive. And with things overlapping, of course, you know I'm going to say, you know what, I'm gonna switch it up on you because you weren't expecting this. Painted walls. Paint your walls a darker color. Obviously, painted walls is the most transformative. This is probably like the most common one people would mention, right? So I did want to put this lower on the list, but painting your walls a moodier color, I mean, instantly, it's gonna change the vibe. But with that, this is the one you knew I was gonna say. Starch wallpaper, starch a bed sheet to get a wallpaper vibe. Nail up a bed sheet on the wall to get a wallpaper vibe. Peel and stick wallpaper, I mean, all really good options. But the most affordable though, hands down, starching a bed sheet on your wall to make it look like wallpaper. Most affordable thing. That's what I have back here. Yeah, I do have a video where I show how I did that in my bathroom makeover. So I'll link that here if you want to check it out for yourself. And I wanted to put this lower on the list because I didn't want you guys to get upset with the overlapping ideas. But there's nothing I can do, okay? There's nothing I can do. But I will say, specifically, I would go with like a dark floral wallpaper because that fits in really well with dark cottagecore. That's what I would go for. Now maybe you've got that painted wall now and maybe you also have that starch wallpaper up and you feel like it's still a little empty. Let's create a gallery wall. Let's put up a gallery wall. This is a really good DIY. It's something that you can do easily because you can get thrifted frames or you could even get frames from the dollar store. There are really good ones. They may be a little smaller, like 8 by 10, the largest, but hey, that works really well if you're doing a gallery wall. You might not want like huge portraits like the one behind me. You might want to go with something smaller. So there are many different ways that you can do this and make it affordable. You can also get the artwork as well for these by either cutting some pictures out of a book that you thrifted from a thrift store, or maybe it was a book that someone gave to you, or maybe you could even make some prints of your own or create some artwork of your own. Just get creative. And because I already kind of mentioned this, making DIY floral artwork would be a good one. Something you could do to do this if you didn't want to paint, because I feel like that's a lot of effort. So I was going to suggest that a really good DIY you could do is by drawing out flowers, pressing them in a book, right? And then just putting them behind glass in frames. I think that would look really cool. I've done something similar before. I do not have a photo of this. And of course we have to talk lighting, and there's a lot of different lighting options for this one. So the main one would be to get candles. Something I'm gonna recommend to you if you're not a fan of lighting candles in your home is by getting LED candle tapers. I have them. They flicker, they're adjustable in lighting, and they're on a remote. So I personally really like the LED candle tapers. It's the best investment for a really cool lighting option. And I also use rechargeable batteries. So like I cannot lose. I cannot lose. Another good lighting option though would be a candelabra for those candle tapers. An oil lamp, maybe it's converted like mine, or just an oil lamp in general. And of course you have to go with fairy lights to light up your space. Because this is a moodier aesthetic, the fairy lights to me makes it feel a bit more light-hearted and happy. I can't explain it, it's just something that fairy lights do, especially when you're lighting a space at night. So I thought this was a really good lighting option if you weren't really a fan of candles and that's just not something you're interested in. And another good lighting option, which isn't really lighting, it's something to add to your space. This is for your windows, I forgot to mention it, would be a sun catcher. Again, with it being a moodier aesthetic, and if you have the room painted a dark color and your furniture is darker, you kind of want to add something that's going to make it not feel like you're drowning. To me, that item is a sun catcher because it catches the sunlight as it dances around the room, and I think this item is an absolute win. It's one of my favorite things. I can't explain it. It just makes it feel like magic. And the last few things I wanted to add to this list would have to be by switching up your curtains, or maybe adding some lace curtains with the ones you currently have. Like if you have drapes, maybe put lace curtains with it on top of it, or like in front of it, you know? I think lace curtains really gives like a vintage feel to a space as opposed to just like normal thick drapes that you could get. So yeah, lace curtains or crocheted curtains would look really nice as well. And yeah, come at me for curtains, man. Come at me for them. And the last one on this list would have to be by switching up your duvet cover. I know it's a simple one, I know, but it's true. If you were adding different items from this list into your room specifically, you know, trying to curate a space, if you don't change your duvet with that, it's gonna look out of place. It's not gonna fit. Plus, it's just like the easiest thing to do because your bed takes up a pretty big portion of your bedroom and it's like an eyesore, right? If it's a bright blue color and everything else is like dark and moody, it's not really gonna make sense. So definitely by getting a more moodier duvet to fit in with the vibe you're going for is just a no-brainer. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. And if it's something small that you were trying to do, and you're trying to keep it affordable, you could literally just do that alone and you're gonna get the vibes you're wanting. So that is everything on my list. I tried to keep this slimmed down to the items that I felt were transformative, budget friendly, and if you selected a few of these ideas off the list, people that know this aesthetic would get what you are going for. That's really the goal when it comes to these ideas on this list. Really just go through it and choose at least 3 and then kind of curate that in one room. And you're gonna get a dark cottagecore feel for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know if you would like me to do this for the whimsy goth aesthetic too, because I have so many ideas. Yeah, let me know if you guys are interested in me making a video about that one as well. And it's super late, so I'm gonna go to bed. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. It's been a great time. I appreciate you being here as always, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Did you think I forgot? I didn't forget. Do you see these videos? Yeah, I made them just for you. I knew you were wanting more content. Curated selection right here. You're welcome. You're welcome.